Hey, welcome in. I'm Kyle is Wonderful, and this is the NXT 2.0 review for June 7th, 2022. And it's only, what, 3 days away. We just had a live pay per view or premium live event for NXT. We don't have too many of those anymore, and they're not takeovers anymore. NXT 2.0, if you guys don't know, is a completely different thing than the black and gold 1.0 version. But thumb I gave In Your House a thumbs up, and we had a lot to look forward to coming into tonight, including I think the only scheduled match for the night coming into the to beforehand was the finals of the women's breakout tournament. It was Tiffany Stratton versus Roxanne Perez. Roxy, if you guys don't know, she's the first ever Ring of Honor women's champion, who's only 20 years old, trained by Booker T. Um, that was the only match announced, and I was thinking, well, that would have been a nice match to have on the In Your House card, but I understand why you want to get ratings and stuff for your television show. So it was all right to have that match tonight, and I was looking forward to it. I'm a big fan of both of those women, so I was happy with either of them winning. So just to give you a quick recap of what happened at In Your House on Saturday. Tony D'Angelo and Stacks and Two Dimes were able to beat Legado del Fantasma in the first match of the night, which means Legado del Fantasma was gonna have to work underneath the Tony D'Angelo family. So the cartel basically had to join the mafia, and we knew we were gonna get something about that tonight. So another thing that we were gonna look forward to is what kind of segments and skits would we get out of Legado del Fantasma now being part of Tony D'Angelo's family. We also saw Toxic Attraction, Gigi Dolan, and JC Jane defeat Casey, or not Casey Canizaro anymore. It is Katana Chance and Caden Carter, which I thought that was the wrong move because I think Toxic Attractions, all three of them are ready to go up to like SmackDown right now. So they even mentioned in that In Your House match that, oh yeah, Chance and Carter, have been losing a lot ever since forming as a tag team, and then they just lose again. So we didn't see them at all on NXT tonight. Not good, not a good look for someone that you should probably be looking to bring to your main roster if you're serious about having a WWE Women's Tag, uh, not only champion but at least a division of four or hopefully six or eight different tag teams in the between Raw and SmackDown. So I think Toxic Attraction and Chance and Carter should be on the main roster pretty soon. But again, that happened. So all of Toxic Attraction retained their titles at In Your House. Mandy Rose defeated Wendy Chu it was a decent match. Mandy Rose retains. I think she's on like 225 days as NXT champion now. So I thought, again, I didn't know if Wendy Chu was necessarily the right person to beat Mandy, but I also think Mandy is probably the right person to beat Ronda with the help of the rest of Toxic Attraction and win the SmackDown title. I think Mandy could hold the SmackDown title for the summer and have Ronda chase her. So um, we also saw the Creed brothers out of Diamond Mine defeat Pretty Deadly for the NXT tag titles in a really good match. Some people's match of the night. I picked my match of the night was Mello versus Cameron Grimes, Carmelo Hayes, for who Hayes defeated Cameron Grimes for the North American title. But the Creed brothers put on a really good performance. They've continued to impress and improved over the months. Um, they and Pretty Deadly we're looking pretty good in that match as well. And the only other match on the In Your House card was Braun Breaker, which is Rick Steiner's son and Scott Steiner's nephew. Braun Breaker defeated Joe Gacy, and it was good to see that feud didn't necessarily continue tonight. So thank goodness on that. It looked like they have Joe Gacy and Braun Breaker going off in the separate paths. So that's the recap of what happened. Let's get into tonight's show. overall, I would say a pretty good show. NXT is one of those. It's probably my second favorite show of the entire week behind Dynamite, and I like both of those shows for very different reasons. Dynamite is like you're gonna get at least one really good match, probably two or three like really top notch matches, and maybe some debuts or further along of storylines and some long term booking. NXT 2.0, on the other hand, you're not expecting good wrestling, but what you are expecting is the unexpected. So you never know what you're going to get on these NXT 2.0 shows, and that's what I like about it. It's very fast paced. A lot happens. There's usually about 15 different segments in a 2-hour show in NXT 2.0. And again, like I said, you're not coming into it expecting good wrestling. You never know what kind of characters they're going to come up with next. So we start out the show. Um, and we see Tony D'Angelo with stacks and two dimes, and he's got Legado del Fantasma, and conspicuous by her absent all night, we never saw Elektra Lopez. So it doesn't seem like Elektra Lopez has to work for Tony D'Angelo's family, or at least she wasn't there tonight. But we see the other three members of Legado del Fantasma. It seems like they've had to do some tasks and different things for Tony D. And then Tony D tells Santos that he booked him in a match later. So we're going to get a Santos Escobar match later, which I'm definitely excited for. Santos Escobar is a second generation luchador. He's in his mid 30s and has been wrestling for 22 years. So um, he's basically on the roster right now to make sure to coach some of these kids up, and I hope to see Santos Escobar on the main roster soon, especially because we definitely need a pay-per-view match between Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio before Rey Mysterio is done wrestling. So the rest of Legado del Fantasma is also really good in the ring. When it comes to Tony D'Angelo, he's decent in the ring, great character work, but Stacks and Two Dimes are relatively new to NXT, and I know they've got a little bit of independent work under their belts, but they're definitely not ready for main roster. So look to see Tony D'Angelo and his family in NXT for a while. Maybe this is a way to get Legado del Fantasma on the main roster at a point, this whole storyline. So that was just a little quick segment to open up the show and establish that Santos is going to fight later. Then we cut to the arena, and Josh Briggs is already in the ring with his music playing. He's got his partner Brooks Jensen, who has a cast on from an attack from Von Wagner, and Fallon Henley's also there with them. Like pretty much immediately, Von Wagner comes out. It seemed like it was new music for Von Wagner and new like Titantron. And he also had not only Mr. Stone, which is Robbie E for all you TNA fans, Mr. Stone, and Sophia Cromwell, which is like been this mysterious woman that we don't really know what's going on. But basically, if any guy looks at her and backstage, then Von Wagner goes and beats them up. And that's the story here, where Brooks Jensen got beat up just by looking at her when she passed by him. And Josh Briggs is Brooks Jensen's tag team partner. So there was a story to this match, but the match didn't last long. Two big guys, though. These are two of your biggest guys, other than Sanga. And I could see this being a match that they run back a few times in NXT, because I don't think Von Wagner or Josh Briggs are getting out of NXT anytime soon unless they're desperate for big guys on the main roster. So you never know. But we didn't get much of a match here. I noticed Brooks had a new like cowboy hat and sideburns on the outside. At pretty soon after the match starts, Von Wagner's on the outside, and he attacks Brooks Jensen and hits his cast on the mat, and this causes, or I think like after that, Brooks Jensen takes his cast off, which Josh Briggs then in the ring gets the cast, hits Von Wagner over the head to win the match, and it's just over pretty quickly. That's pretty interesting. So basically, at the end of it, they were like, "Oh, I wasn't hurt." So maybe we'll be seeing Brooks Jensen fight again soon, or maybe Von Wagner's gonna attack him again. We don't know what's going on. We didn't get any more story progression with Sophia Cromwell. We still don't know any of her character traits or storyline whatsoever. And we quickly just go to um Oh, and I completely skipped the very beginning of the show. My apologies. So all of that happened. uh, my apologies. But before all of that, before the Tony D'Angelo talking about Santos, the show actually started with Carmelo Hayes coming out with Trick Williams, and he's celebrating his new man. I can't believe I skipped this. My bad on that. But we started out with Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams coming down to the ring, and they were celebrating Carmelo's getting two now being a two-time North American champion. Carmelo cuts a pretty scathing promo. I don't remember Carmelo really cutting like this much of a heel promo on the actual crowd, just kind of laying into the crowd and stuff like that. So it's clear that they're trying to make him even more of a hated heel. I know kind of in the past, Carmelo Hayes has been somewhat of a tweener, but it looks like his next opponent, because remember, Solo Sikoa was saying he's got next, whoever won the match between Carmelo and Cameron Grimes. So, of course, Solo Sikoa comes out right on cue, and the crowd loves Solo Sikoa. And if you guys don't know, Solo Sikoa is the younger brother of the Usos, and you can definitely tell just by looking at him that he's a brother of the Usos. But they haven't really established the part of his character. They just said that he came from the streets and he was a street fighter, and he was like kind of being a loner is part of like the solo part even gets brought up in this promo. So as we go on, Solo Sokoa wants, of course, the next title shot on Carmelo Hayes. And of course, Carmelo Hayes now trying to be, he has to be the heel in this feud because Solo Sokoa is loved by the crowd. So Carmelo Hayes tells him, "No, you made that deal with Cameron Grimes. You didn't make that deal with me. There ain't no next. Like, get to the back of the line or whatever." So, um, all of a sudden, Grayson Waller's music hits, and Grayson Waller comes out and cuts another heel promo, getting a lot of boos from the crowd. This quickly leads to a 3-on-1 beatdown. Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes, and Solo Sikoa, and during all that, I think it was Grayson that said, "Oh yeah, they call you Solo because nobody likes you. You don't have any friends in the back. So keep that in mind." Um, we went to the break with the 3-on-1 beatdown, and nobody came out to Solo Sikoa's aid. And it was interesting. I was unsure, and I'm still kind of unsure why Grayson Waller is involved with Carmelo Hayes. Then the stuff that I already talked about happened. Apologies again for getting the order mixed up, but then we had the Tony D'Angelo and Santos in the parking lot. Like I said, Santos will have the match later. Josh Briggs beats Von Wagner with the cast to the head to win, and then we go to the back where Solo Sikoa is in the trainer's room, and he's saying he wants a handicap match later. And I was assuming it was a 3-on-1 handicap match. And we'll find out a little bit later. No, it's Carmelo Hayes and Grayson Waller versus Solo Sikoa in a handicap match, which is kind of weird. I don't know why Trick wasn't gonna wrestle. Um, and I still don't know why. Maybe he was hurt, but he did take a bump later on, so I'm not quite sure on that. Maybe they just wanted to establish Grayson with Mello for some reason. But that'll be the main event. And then Nathan Frazier comes out to a huge response after his big main event match, the really good match. Oh, hey there. Thanks for tuning in. But yeah, Nathan Frazier comes out to a huge response from the crowd, and that's because he had a great main event match last week, if you remember, in against Cameron Grimes, in a losing effort, but really showed that Nathan Frazier, if you guys don't know, is Ben Carter. He was trained in the Black and Brave Academy, which is owned by Seth Rollins, and this guy had the choice to join either AEW or go to NXT, and he went to NXT. He went over to NXT UK for a little bit. He's from Jersey, which is in the one of the islands, like a old Jersey, not New Jersey, old Jersey. So he's from the UK, and he's really good. He showed it last week, got a great response from tonight's crowd, and right before we go to commercial break, we found out that this is going to be Santos' match that Tony D'Angelo arranged for him. So it's going to be Santos Escobar versus Nathan Frazier, which is a oh man, I was really looking forward to this match during the commercial break. Um, like I was saying earlier, Santos Escobar, second generation, 22-year veteran. Um, Definitely, this was NXT or the WWE saying they saw what Frazier did last week, and now we really want to put you in the test, like test you out against like our top veteran, and like see how really good you are, kind of. So, as we found out later when this match started, Nathan Frazier had to do a lot of selling because Santos Escobar was in control of this match for most of it. Which so that tells you that WWE wanted to see how Nathan Frazier sells, and we went to commercial break. Like I said, we come back with, if you remember from last week, Thea Hale. She's the woman that just last week graduated high school. She's 18. We've already seen her wrestle on Level Up, and she's pretty good. I know she's got a few matches in the independents, so she comes in with a little bit of experience. She comes out of Pittsburgh. She's got Greek Spartan blood in her, so she's kind of got a Spartan gimmick, but not like overly gimmick. But now she's just basically her gimmick is that she's going into college. WWE was kind enough to allow her to attend college and train in the performance center and stuff and be on NXT when she can. So it looks like we're gonna have Thea Hale for the next 2 months or so, before she goes off into college. But they ended up making it a storyline since we already have a college in NXT. Last week, she announced she was going to join Andre Chase University. So we've got a woman to go along with Bodie Hayward and Andre Chase in the Chase U. Now we can call them an official faction or stable or whatever. And we got a little segment here before the Frazier Santos match where um, Andre gave her a scholarship to Andre Chase University, and out of nowhere, Pretty Deadly enter the scene and challenge um, Chase U to a match later. So a little weird to see the former champions before seeing the new champions, but it looks like we'll get Andre Chase and Bodie Hayward versus Kit Wilson and um, Elton Prince later on, Pretty Deadly, in their first match since losing the titles. So we go back to the ring, and it's going to be Santos Escobar versus Tony, or I'm sorry, Santos Escobar versus Nathan Frazier. And Santos Escobar comes out to Tony D'Angelo's music and Titantron and the rest of the family. And Tony D'Angelo is going to be announcing, going to do some ring color commentary with Wade Barrett and Vic during this match. So the match gets going. Santos Escobar is in control. Like I said, Santos is in control most of this match. This match definitely seemed like they wanted to test Frazier's selling. And I would say Frazier did a good job in this match. At one point, Tony D'Angelo yells at Santos from ringside, "This is boring. Come on, let's go." And then we go to then we go to a picture-in-picture ad break. So we got to watch Santos in control the entire ad break. Then we come back. Santos gets slid in from, I think it was two dimes, slid in a crowbar for Santos to use, but Santos refused to use the crowbar and gets hit by Frazier. And then Frazier goes up top for the um, Phoenix Splash and the 1-2-3. So Nathan Frazier with a big win here in a match where he mostly had to sell against Santos Escobar. We quickly go to the back, where Zion Quinn's kind of laughing off Nathan Frazier's win. Like, yeah, like kind of like we all saw you get beat up forever kind of deal, but he didn't say that out loud. And then he's basically, Zion Quinn is like, "I'm tired of hearing about Wes Lee and all that. I'm just gonna destroy him again next week." And so that sets up a match next week: Wes Lee versus Zion Quinn. We get an ad break where they mention NXT is going to have the Great American Bash. It's not a premium live event like Saturday's event was. It's going to be just during one of the NXT episodes. And this will be on July 5th. which means Tuesday is July 5th. I think that means there's going to be a live Monday Night Raw on July 4th, and Money in the Bank is July 3rd. I'm pretty sure. So going to be a crazy WWE going pretty crazy during the holidays. I don't know if that's a good idea, but we'll see how that works out. Um, After that ad break, Braun Breaker's out. He's out to say he beat Joe Gacy not only for himself but all of NXT, and he wonders what's next. So, like I was saying at the beginning, thankfully it looks like at least for now, Braun Breaker and Joe Gacy have been separated, which is I'm okay with the Joe Gacy character, but to put Braun Breaker in all those awkward situations where he's out of his element, and I know they're kind of, I get it. You want him to learn how to kind of do some of that stuff now. That's what NXT 2.0 is all about. It's all about developing people so that they can go to Raw and SmackDown. And Lord knows at some point Braun Breaker is going to come across some kind of spooky character or some kind of awkward situation on Raw and SmackDown. So I get it, but also I'm glad it's over. So basically Braun says, "What? Who's next? What's next?" Um, He's like, after I beat Joe Gacy, I saw everybody in the back eyeing me down, like, who's ready for this? Basically, and out of nowhere, Apollo Crews music hits, and Apollo Crews comes out to a huge reception. Apollo Crews is wearing just his street clothes. He's got like a leather jacket on and some jeans. Um, we last we last saw Apollo Crews in a 24/7 segment just 2 weeks ago, along the likes of Kira Tozawa, Reggie, T Bar was there, and so was Apollo Crews. But I did notice this last Monday when it like T Bar was even there in the 24/7 segment, but there was no Apollo Crews on Raw this time in the 24/7 segment. So if you guys don't know, Apollo Crews, he's been like featured on every episode of Main Event for the last like 6 months at least. Just losing to everybody. I think Apollo Crews lost to Veer Mahan at least 10 times during that whole Veer is coming to Raw. While that all that was happening, Veer was beating Apollo Crews like 20 times on Main Event. Um Apollo Crews' current gimmick, like, so we got a pretty good push, and he was his last good push we saw him as Intercontinental Champion in WrestleMania 2021, and that was in a losing effort to Big E in a Nigerian drum match. Or he might have beat Big E or something along those lines, but that was the last time that he got a push, and that was a while ago. So right now he's currently, well, he was paired with Commander Aziz, and Apollo Crews' current gimmick is he was speaking with um, I'm not going to say fake because he does have Nigerian roots, and I'm sure he has Nigerian family members that have the Nigerian accent, but it wasn't like his natural accent either. But he was saying like I'm Nigerian royalty, and this is my bodyguard, Commander Aziz. And it really, they never went anywhere. They got killed in like a handicap match by Omos. Um, and like I said, he lost the like anyway. He came in the NXT as Uha Nation, and I was excited. Unfortunately I was gonna wear my Apollo Crews T-shirt tonight that I got in an NXT live event here in Detroit, which was a great live event. There was like a great it was in like a theater, so there was an elaborate vaudevillains entrance during that NXT live event. But anyway, the shirt I chose to buy at that event was Apollo Crews. I had high hopes for him, and it really hasn't worked out. He was on a lot of people's future endeavored list for the next round of firings, and who knows if he still might be on that list. But good to see, at least see them doing something with him. So Apollo Crews comes out, and he gets a huge reception and a welcome back from the crowd. Crowd loves him. Like I said, there's no accent, there's no Nigerian royalty mentions, or he's just wearing regular street clothes. And he basically says he's here in NXT and he's here as long as he wants to be. And the segment kind of ends after that, but huge reaction and huge reception for Apollo Crews. So, like I said, we go to break and then we get Joe Gacy. But luckily, Joe Gacy didn't mention Braun at all. I don't think he mentioned Braun whatsoever. So Joe Gacy's in there, and it's just in whatever smoky, dark room that he has his vignettes in. And Joe Gacy's with the two druids, and he's talking to the druids in this segment about how they joined, how they wanted to leave everything behind, kind of basically the same thing that Edge was saying about the Judgment Day on Raw. But he does say, Joe Gacy does say that the Druids, it looks like their tag team name is going to be the Dyad, which I remember now that he mentioned it on air. I remember seeing that was one of the trademarks that WWE filed not that long ago. I was like, the Dyad. Oh, that's interesting. But so I don't know if that's what the group or the stable's called or just the tag team. But they are called the Dyad, and they will debut next week. Now, if you guys don't know, the Dyad is grizzled young veterans, Drake and Gibson, and it'll be interesting to see who they fight next week. I can't even imagine who they would fight, but it'll be interesting to see how they fight. If they have them fight like regular wrestlers, it'll be interesting to see what kind of gear they wear. So we'll see where that goes. And next, we've got the what I was looking forward to the most, the finals of the women's tournament, breakout tournament. First ever women's breakout tournament. There's been two for the men. The last breakout tournament was won by Carmelo Hayes in the finals against Odyssey Jones. And then I can't remember who won the first one, but it you could see that Carmelo Hayes went straight from that to being like prominent, and he might have even won his first North American title off of that, because what you get from winning the breakout tournament, even for the women, is you get to pick the title of your choice. So for the men, they get three different titles to choose from, but for the women, it's either do I want to go for the singles title or do I want to go for the tag team title. So in the finals, it was going to be Tiffany Stratton, who I love. She's got a great heel persona. She's got a great look. She's beautiful, but also very muscular, and can also do. She's a world class gymnast. And this was only her 12th match ever. She only started wrestling in NXT, and she had her first match um, 1 week before Thanksgiving last year. So not even a full year under her belt. 12th match ever. She's in the finals against Roxanne Perez. Like I was saying, that's Roxy. She was the first ever Ring of Honor women's champion, despite she's only being 20 years old right now. And I should have mentioned Tiffany Stratton just turned 23 recently. So um, definitely NXT is trying to go younger. They're trying to go that young route and keep a couple of those people around, like your Kaylee Ray, who's now Alba Fire, and Io Shirai, as well as like Roderick Strong. Some of those veterans around, so that they can teach these 20-year-olds. So a lot, and like I said, we got 18 and 19-year-olds on the roster as well. So NXT is definitely going for a youth movement, and it looks like it's succeeding, because I was excited for this match. They've got some good characters. Roxanne Perez is a squeaky clean baby face that's very likable. She's got a great look, inspired by what's her name, AJ Lee. And then Tiffany Stratton's got an amazing heel, annoying, rich girl, mean girl persona. So I was looking forward to this match. It started out pretty hot, pretty strong. It looked pretty good. But a couple minutes into it, and in just about 30 seconds before we get to the ad break, Tiffany Stratton just seems to get completely lost. And like I said, this is only her 12th match ever, but and she's improved so much in the last 6 months or so. But Tiffany Stratton definitely got lost somewhere around before the ad break. You see Roxanne Perez having to talk to her 3 different times in a 15-second span, just trying to get everything back on track. They eventually do enough to get to the ad break. We come back from ad break. Tiffany Stratton's trying to throw some of her hair extensions that fell out of the ring. So just kind of a bad night for Tiffany. But like I said, she's very new to the business. So things like this will happen. Things like this will humble you, especially what ends up happening. And you'll see what I mean when I explain what happens. But anyway, as far as this match goes, um, huge, huge power bomb by Tiffany at one point where I wasn't quite sure if Roxanne could kick out because it would look nasty. But Tiffany misses a moonsault at the end, and Roxanne gets up and hits her with the pop rocks, which is a code red for the win. Cora Jade immediately runs out with because they've paired Cora Jade and Roxanne as friends. They've basically got the exact same gimmick. They're both inspired by AJ Lee and all of that. So Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez have the exact same gimmick. Um, and they've been paired together. So I was okay with this. Cora Jade was legitimately happy for Roxanne Perez. And if they would have had a breakout tournament 6 months ago, 8 months ago, Cora Jade probably would have won that one. So um then immediately we start before we can even start thinking about if Roxanne Perez is going to go for the singles or tag title. Here comes all of Toxic Attraction. Of course, they hold all the gold in the women's division and have for over 200 days. Mandy cuts a really. I've been high on Mandy, and Mandy's revitalized her career, and it was a great decision to send her to NXT. Between now and that WrestleMania in 2021 I talked about earlier, where she fell on her butt. From then till now, she's improved so much. But wow, this promo that Mandy cut while walking to the ring after Roxanne just won had a terrible cadence to it. Mandy seemed like she kept having to think in her mind for what she was supposed to say. So not a good look, but it ends up turning into a big brawl 3-on-2. But then Indy Hartwell runs out to even the odds, and it all gets broken up. But they do announce later on that there will be a 6-woman tag match next week. All of Toxic Attraction versus Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade, and Indy Hartwell. So we've yet to hear Roxanne's decision, but I'm assuming since she's a squeaky clean baby face with a friend who's also a squeaky clean baby face, so you already know that Roxanne Perez is going to choose to go for the tag titles, and that could be where. Um, remember, I was saying in the beginning of this podcast, I'm not quite sure why Katana Chance and Caden Carter didn't get the tag titles, but this could be why, because it looks like I would say it's a good bet that Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade will win the tag titles from Toxic Attraction pretty soon. I'm not sure if they'll have to wait all the way to the Great American Bash on July 5th or if it'll be before that, but you could probably pencil that in for Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade winning the titles on the 5th. After that, we go to the back, and Bodie Hayward is been taken out in the back by someone. Andre Chase is there. He's cussing up a storm, which I was laughing about because I forgot that's kind of his gimmick where he swears a lot. Thea Hale was there as well, checking on Bodie, and we go to commercial break with Andre Chase cussing, and that was pretty funny. During the break, we got that Cena is going to return commercial on June 26th. And when we come back from that commercial about Cena returning, Vic Grimes, who's the announcer, along with Wade Barrett, talks about, oh yeah, my favorite. Vic is talking to Wade, and Vic is saying, oh yeah, my favorite Cena moment is when Cena buried you under all those chairs or whatever. Which I'm not quite sure which moment Vic is talking about. I don't even really remember. But what I do remember is the second of 3 times in my life I stopped watching wrestling altogether. The second time that happened was when Cena completely buried Wade Barrett and the rest of Nexus, and in the SummerSlam match where Cena just had to be super strong and just completely buried the Nexus. Everyone in the Nexus was a joke from then on out. I mean, I know Wade Barrett got a few Intercontinental title reigns out of his career, but oh my gosh, just think about how good the Nexus could have been and the people out of the Nexus could have been. Um, if Cena doesn't have to be Super Cena there. But that's pretty hilarious that Vic Grimes reminds Wade Barrett on live television about the time Cena buried you. Um, and I thought that was hilarious. We quickly go to the back. Tiffany Stratton is pissed. She is beyond mad. She gets interrupted, or I think she interrupted Wendy Chu. Um, either way, one of the two interrupted each other, and Wendy Chu and Tiffany are there, and basically Wendy Chu throws her, I think it's orange soda, in the face of Tiffany Stratton. So that, as I was saying, this is going to be one of those nights where it just humbles you as a wrestler. I mean, I'm not a wrestler. I've never been in the business, but I know how things go. And Tiffany has been improving a ton and getting really good, and she looks like she could be a superstar. But this was definitely one of those nights for Tiffany where they reined her in and had to humble you a little bit. She ended the night with soda in her face. So nothing she can't bounce back from. She'll have a good match next time out, I'm assuming. Um, so then, so like I said, Bodie was taken out. Um, and we assume it's Pretty Deadly that did it, but we have no idea. But here comes Pretty Deadly out to the ring for their match. They've got the John Morrison slow mo entrance now with the hair flowing and stuff. Andre Chase storms out, just ready to take both of them on, like ready to destroy both of them. Because of course Andre Chase assumes that it was Pretty Deadly as well. And then this got me thinking: does this mean we're getting two handicap matches in the final 30 minutes? And we'll find the answer to that by the end. But Andre Chase comes out in a seemingly a handicap match, and does a pretty good job of beating up both Pretty Deadly before the numbers game got to him. Bodie Hayward starts crawling out. He's got a ripped up T-shirt. It looks in rough shape. Thea Hale's there with him, telling him, "No, don't do it. You're too beat up." And she takes his spot in the match. We have no idea if she was actually ever entered into the match, but she does slap one of Pretty Deadly, and it's not a disqualification. So I guess that means Thea Hale was in this match. But shortly after that, Pretty Deadly get the win over double teaming on Andre Chase. And I had another laugh out loud moment when right after Pretty Deadly wins, they go over and do the Scott Hall fingers taunt right in Thea Hale's face, who's standing on the like where you would on ready to get the tag. So pretty decent segment overall. I like that they've incorporated Tia Hale like right out the bat, and now it looks like we can finally get some more matches out of Chase University and not just segments, which means it must be ready for Bodie Hayward. Bodie Hayward, they're probably waiting on him to get ready to be on TV. And technically, Bodie Hayward didn't even wrestle in this match. So, as we know, or if you didn't know, Andre Chase is one of the Bravado brothers. I remember seeing the Bravado brothers in ROH over a decade ago. So this guy Andre Chase is a veteran of the business. He's just kind of small, and but he plays like the Bobby Knight coach of the university. He'll swear at people and stuff. So it's overall a great gimmick, and another one of those guys like Roderick Strong, to mentor all these young 20-year-olds and teenagers that they've got in the performance center. So I can see Andre Chase could develop into a character that we see on NXT 2.0 for the next like 3 or 4 years. He might have an ever evolving Chase University where people come and go, some graduate and whatnot, but Chase remains as the coach. And so this could be a reoccurring character and gimmick that we see for the next 4 or 5 years potentially. Because like I said, Andre Chase, I don't ever see them calling Andre Chase. If Roderick Strong can't get called up to the main roster, I don't see Andre Chase ever getting called up. And like I said, they've got him in a perfect character coach mold role right now. And I could see Chase University being a part of NXT 2.0 for the next 5 years. Um, after all of that, with the Pretty Deadly match, before we go to commercial break, we get a confrontation between Tony D'Angelo and Carmelo Hayes, who's with Trick Williams, and D'Angelo had Stacks and Two Dimes with him. And basically, Tony D'Angelo was just telling them, like, watch where you're going. This is my turf around here. Melo's like, I'm not interested in any of that kind of deal. Tony D'Angelo basically was staring down the title. I don't know who would be going for it. Maybe that's a title, Tony D'Angelo, because you don't necessarily want to put the NXT championship on Tony D'Angelo because he's such a character, more so than a wrestler. But potentially you could put the North American title on him. So I don't know if that's exactly what he was eyeballing, but it looked like it. But we did kind of a cringe Bruce Pritchard, Vince McMahon, quote unquote, their type of humor out of this, where I think Tony D'Angelo called himself the Don, of course, and then Trick said, well, Mel's the son because everything revolves around him. And this all led to Tony D'Angelo, the white guy, being able to call the black guy son in a condescending manner. And what is supposed to be quote unquote humor, but it's that Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard racist type humor that um, shouldn't belong on 2022 television. And I mean, it's up to you to decide if it was offensive or not. I'm the mid 30s white guy, so it's not exactly my place to say whether it was or not. But I was in the building in Joe Louis Arena here in Detroit when Vince McMahon called John Cena the N word and laughed about it, and it was just supposed to be humor. But Vince McMahon must have some strong connection um, here in Detroit, because here in Detroit he also, when I was in the arena when Shane McMahon made his return after so long, and Vince McMahon, for some reason, audible over the microphone or at least the cameras, was like, "I'm gonna kill you, MFer." So Vince McMahon just has no F's to gives when he's in Detroit. He must have the good hookup. But anyway, I didn't like that. I didn't find it funny that he was called him son, and but SUN. Um, it's what it's whatever. Let's move on. Alba Fire came out next right before we went to ad break, so she got a um, really quick entrance. Alba Fire is Kaylee Ray, the longest reigning. I'm pretty sure the longest reigning UK NXT UK Women's Champion. So kind of the equivalent of the Walter or the Gunter of NXT UK, but for the women. And she got her name changed to Alba Fire. Alba is the Gaelic Scottish word for Scotland. That's what they call their home. And then Fire is like her new gimmick. So now had already been established that Kaylee Ray carries around a bat. Well, now the bat's on fire, and all her Titantron and stuff is on fire. So she was another unfortunate member of your ring name is too close to your real life name, so you have to change it crew, like the 20 different people that also had to do that. So, like I said, we go to an ad break there. Tatum Paxley is the one that's going to fight Alba Fire. If you remember on the In Your House pay-per-view, they had seen that vignette for Alba Fire, and then they go to the back, and it was Tatum Paxley and Lash Legend, among other. They didn't even look like Performance Center recruits. It looked like extras or maybe independent wrestlers. A bunch of other women were with Lash Legend and Tatum Paxley as they're like, "Oh, Alba Fire," but like Lash Legend is talking trash, like she does really well, and Tatum Paxley's like, "Well, why don't you fight her?" And like Lash is like, "No, I don't want to do that." Well, Tatum's like, "I will." So that's how this match got set up. It seemed super rushed. All the entrances were rushed. The match was super rushed when it started. It seemed like one of those um Dynamite women's matches that get super rushed. So this one was an unfortunate. It must have got time crunched. Maybe Apollo Crews milked the response that he got, but I can't blame Apollo Crews, who's been losing on main event for a year straight, finally getting a reaction, if that was the case. But it seemed like they didn't leave any time for this match, which is unfortunate. I like Tatum Paxley. Tatum Paxley pretty much didn't get to showcase anything, and the crowd was really into Alba. Super squash match. Alba Fire hits a nasty looking swanton bomb like over halfway across the ring, which was pretty cool. But super squash match, like I said, which I'm not a fan of. Um, Alba Fire shakes Tatum Paxley's hand after the match, and all of a sudden Lash Legend comes out, takes down a cheap shot on Alba Fire, and some great trash talking from Lash Legend. Like I said, I really like the trash talking out of Lash Legend. Hopefully, she's another one like Tiffany Stratton, barely any matches under her belt, maybe about 15 matches under her career. Lash Legend was like from what I understand, comparisons to Dennis Rodman on her rebounding abilities. She went all the way to the WNBA, and she's got a really good look. She's really good at the trash talking. She understands her character, but she is not good in the ring at this current moment, and also slightly dangerous in the ring, having at least documented two different injuries. I know one of them was to Amari Miller, maybe a concussion issue, and then I think she injured Valentina Feroz in the previous match as well. So hopefully she can get it together because she's got a lot of upside, and hopefully she can go the route of like a Beth Phoenix and not a Nia Jax as far as a powerhouse in the women's division goes. But again, good character work. She could develop into a manager as well. Not it's kind of weird to have a tall, big manager, but it could work out. It could be like a heater, bodyguard, and manager and mouthpiece for someone. So, but yeah, this looks like Alba Fire versus Lash Legend next, and which is good. We need to get Lash in there with the most veteran person we've got. We literally can't put Lash in there with any of the 18 or 19-year-old girls right now. So perfect idea. Let Lash and I didn't mention this yet, but starting this Saturday, I think maybe even Friday, NXT is going back on the Largo loop, which means they're going back on tour to live events. And they've never been on a live event during the 2.0 era. And I think it's been all the way since before the pandemic that NXT's been on tour, which is great. As everybody knows, it's like basically the same people week after week in the crowd of the NXT arena at the Performance Center. So it's gonna help them leaps and bounds grow as wrestlers to go on the Largo Loop, which is a bunch of different cities in Florida in like small armories, but you're gonna get a lot tougher crowds than the WWE friendly ones they get in the Performance Center. So I could see like Lash Legend going on the Largo Loop starting this weekend against Alba Fire, and they've already now set that matchup on TV. So hopefully, hopefully Alba Fire can get out of the Largo Loop without getting killed by Lash Legend, but um, if you're gonna try and get something to work, that's the kind of stuff you have to do. So let's keep an eye on NXT in the next month or so as they start going on tour during the weekends and see if we see a vast improvement in some of these, especially your Tiffany Strattons and your Lash Legends, but as well as like maybe a Von Wagner can start getting some good matches going. I didn't mind his match on NXT UK against Sam Gradwell. Now I know a lot of people are going to say that they are upset that Von Wagner even beat him, but from you just got to understand that WWE definitely treats um, NXT UK as lower on the ladder than NXT 2.0. So like you get promoted from NXT UK to NXT 2.0 kind of deal. So um, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing maybe some improvements, even more so in the next 3-4 weeks after the Largo Loop. After we after all that with the Lash Legend cheap shot, we finally get to see the Creed brothers and the rest of Diamond Mine. Somewhere around the time of the Andre Chase match, I was thinking to myself, man, we haven't seen any buddy from Diamond Mine, and we've got 5 different members of Diamond Mine with at least 4, if you want to count the Creed brothers as one entity, 4 different storyline potentials to branch out from, and we haven't seen them at all. So Diamond Mine right now, if you guys aren't familiar, is Roderick Strong And then he's got the Creed brothers who just won the NXT tag titles. They've got Ivy now, a really strong looking, but also petite at the same time. She's got a really good look to her and been improving in the ring as well. And she's the only woman in there. And then they recently brought in Damon Kemp, who is Bobby Stevenson, Gable Stevenson's older brother. And he seems to be we've seen him on Level Up quite a few times. And I'm excited about his progression. But we finally get to see Dynamite. All five of them are there in the back in the Diamond Mine training ground, where they have all their vignettes. Roderick Strong is acting super babyface here, where he's been kind of tweener lately and acting heelish. Um, Roderick Strong says sorry about all that before, like congrats on the big win. I'm proud of you guys. And then as Roderick, they're all like they basically all make up, and then all of a sudden Idris Inoue and Malik Blade out of nowhere. Now, if you guys watched my In Your House review, you know that I'm a big fan of Idris Inoue, and Malik Blade ain't too bad either. But I think Idris Inoue is going to be a huge star in the business, and um, hopefully I'm right about that because he just looks like a star. But Idris Inoue and Malik Blade interrupt and somehow find themselves in the Diamond Mine camp and just say, "Oh yeah, congrats on the title win, Creeds, but we want next. We want the titles." And the Creeds are just like, "All right, bro, yeah, let's do it." And they're all like high fiving and bro hugging and yeah, I'll see you next week. And then you look over at Roderick Strong's face, and Roderick Strong is furious. Like all that stuff, he's like, Roderick Strong is mad. He immediately lets him know that's a mistake. Like they didn't earn those tag title shots. Why are you just giving them the tag title shots next week? You just won the titles. Roderick says, I was gonna give you until your first mistake as champions to say something, but you've already made it. And your match, you got lucky on Saturday, so you've still got a lot of work to do. And Roderick immediately goes back to being heelish. So pretty good segment overall. That sets up a tag title match next week where I wouldn't mind a quick switch to Idris Inoue and Malik Blade, especially if it furthers along this Roderick Strong storyline. And maybe, just maybe, we can get Roderick Strong on the main roster. But like I said, it's good to have Roderick Strong there. I'm sure Roderick's going to wrestle one of their top recruits. I can't figure out who. Maybe it'll be maybe we'll get Nathan Frazier versus Roderick Strong on the Largo Loop, or they could switch up. That's someone you can definitely have him wrestle 10 different people. But like no joke, I would put Lash Legend in there every single night on the Largo Loop with Alba Fire because she's got superstar potential. You just need to unlock it without hurting 19-year-olds who also are trying to learn. Anyway, that segment with the Dynamite was great. We go to break and we come back with another vignette about Giovanni Vinci, and we get the face reveal that it is in fact Fabian Eichner. He's another person where Fabian Eichner is his real name, so he was screwed on that front. And then just out of nowhere, Fabian Eichner doesn't get to go up to SmackDown alongside Gunter and the renamed Gunter and Ludwig Kaiser. So Fabian Eichner was in a tag team with Ludwig Kaiser, and they were NXT Tag Team Champions, if you don't know. But now those two went up to SmackDown. Fabian had to stay. He lost his name. Now he's Giovanni Vinci with a new gimmick. But I don't know how they're going to explain it because he clearly just looks like his old self. But now he's sophisticated and he's rich and he's basically the $1 million man in Alberto Del Rio, but Italian version. So that'll be debuting next week. I'm excited to see what he wears in the ring, what kind of music he has. But what we do know is Fabian Eichner's a beast in the ring. He's kind of short, but he's really muscular, and he can do all kinds of flips as well as suplexes and technical wrestling. So Fabian Eichner is a beast, and Giovanni Vinci, you know he's going to be able to go in the ring, so it'll be interesting to see who he fights. It could just be someone like Ikemen Jiro or Guru Raj, but they might also give him a storyline right off the bat. So we'll see where that goes. It looks like definitely it would be a heel gimmick, like your snobby aristocratic gimmick. So something to look forward to. Like I said, we also got the 6 women tag match next week. We've got the tag title match, and I know I'm forgetting another one, but anyway, it's time for the main event. So it's supposed to be a handicap match, Grayson Waller and Carmelo Hayes. And for some reason, Trick Williams is only accompanying them in his street clothes. I don't know why he wasn't involved in this match. If they're able to get a handicap match 2-on-1, why aren't they able to get a 3-on-1? But anyway, it's scheduled to be. Notice I keep saying scheduled. It was scheduled to be Carmelo Hayes and Grayson Waller versus Solo Sikoa, who they even mentioned. Oh yeah, your name's Solo because nobody likes you in the back. You're like all by yourself, bro. Um, but I did like the that Grayson Waller came out color coordinated with Carmelo Hayes. They both had the black and gold color coordination going. So I always appreciate when they do stuff like that. And I didn't remember this, but shout out to Wade Barrett on commentary. He mentioned that Grayson Waller and Carmelo Hayes do have a little bit of history teaming together as they were on the same team. If you remember in the War Games match, it was the NXT 2.0 rookies versus the NXT Black and Gold veterans. And if I remember correctly, it was Grayson Waller, Carmelo Hayes, Braun Breaker, and I think they put LA Knight with them, but LA Knight might have been on the other side too. I can't remember if LA Knight was on the black and gold or the 2.0. But anyway, there's a little bit of history, but they haven't crossed paths ever since then. Ever since shortly after that, we got the Johnny Gargano was gonna leave, and then out of nowhere, Grayson Waller comes out and becomes like the biggest heel in NXT because he took out Johnny Gargano on his farewell. And it seems like nobody's wanted to have anything to do with Grayson. But now Mello seems like he hates the fans even more. He's even more heelish, and he's willing to. So maybe that's why they did it, just to make Mello even more hateable, because they know Grayson Waller's the most hated man on the roster, and maybe other than Von Wagner. But they know Waller's the most hated on the roster. Pair him with Mello instead of Trick Williams in this match. It'll look a little awkward, and I think they should have just made it a 3-on-1 match, especially once you see what happens. But um, now that I've thought it through, it makes sense. It was just to make Carmelo even more hated because he's going up against a really over babyface in Solo Sikoa. So before this match even gets started, Solo, I think he might have even got on the mic and said, "I'm not alone," or something along those lines. And all of a sudden, Apollo Crews music hits. Out comes Apollo Crews in his wrestling gear, completely black wrestling gear. It didn't look like any of his current Nigerian royalty gimmick. Just looked like plain old Apollo Crews, and it was great. I was excited, and I love when I mentioned this last night in the Raw review. I love when someone will come out in a separate segment. So last night it was Riddle. He had the whole segment with Miz, and then Tommaso Ciampa took out Riddle, and then that segment it was over. But later on, Street Profits won their match against the Usos, who Riddle currently hates the Usos. So Riddle came out and congratulate them and got in the Usos' face a little bit in a completely separate segment. And I love when they do that, because I hate when you start to think like, oh, I saw, like, for instance, we saw Tommaso Ciampa in a segment last night. Well, if they don't establish that you can come back in a later segment every now and then you're already thinking, well, I know it's not going to be Tommaso Ciampa that joins the Judgment Day, and it wasn't Tommaso Ciampa, but at least even within that same episode, they showed that, oh, the guy that Tommaso Ciampa took out, well, he's back in a separate segment. So I like when they do that stuff, and they did it here. Apollo Crews basically just came out and said that he was looking to be next for Braun Breaker, and he also mentioned that he's here in NXT as long as he wants. And but better way to show that than, and it also makes the heels correct earlier. Nobody in the locker room did like Solo Sikoa, but that was before Apollo Crews joined the locker room, which about 30 minutes later. So Apollo Crews, new to the locker room, doesn't want Solo Sikoa to have to do this alone, which I would say, where was he in the Andre Chase match? But that's neither here nor there. This match is really good. I don't really want to break it down. We're at exactly an hour right now, and I'm trying to keep most of these reviews at an hour. So I would say go out of your way to watch this match. Apollo Crews' return to NXT in a tag match with Solo Sikoa, the younger brother of the Usos, against Carmelo Hayes, who's the North American champion in his second reign. And a really good, I think Carmelo Hayes is going to be a superstar. I would put Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams with the MVP right now. I would, but it probably would be better to maybe give them NXT for at least 6 more months. But go out of your way to watch this match. It ends with Apollo Crews with a nasty looking sit down power bomb on, I think, Waller. I think Waller had to take the pin. And they even got it went to an ad break at the end, but we got picture in picture. So we got to see all the action of this match, and it was a great match. NXT 2.0 gets a thumbs up from me tonight. And like I said, I don't come into it expecting amazing wrestling. I expect the unexpected. I expect to have craziness happen, and we got a lot of craziness tonight. We've got the re-debut, or I don't know how you want to call it, of Apollo Crews to NXT, who he mentioned that he never got he mentioned in his promo to Braun that he feels like he left NXT a little too soon. I didn't get to accomplish one of my goals looking over at the NXT title. So I like that Apollo Crews, who was a great player in NXT, I distinctly remember him losing to Finn Balor. So when Apollo Crews was in NXT, he couldn't get past the Finn Balor glass ceiling that was there at the time. Not that it was a glass ceiling, but like, you know what I mean. He wasn't better than Finn Balor, but I would like to see Apollo Crews get that NXT title. I would definitely say that. I'll be back on tomorrow night after Dynamite. We'll have a whole lot to talk about. By the time Dynamite ends, we will find out who won the Battle Royal at the very beginning of the night, and then who won at the main event between Jon Moxley, formerly Dean Ambrose, against the winner of said Battle Royal. And the Battle Royal winner could be anybody. A lot of people wanted to be MJF, and as of right now, AEW's doing a storyline where they've erased MJF from YouTube and their roster on the website and all this stuff. So anything could happen tomorrow night. It could be pretty Peter Avalon winning the Battle Royal, as one of the podcasts I listened to mentioned. Could be a freaking possibility. So I'll be on tomorrow night. We got a lot to look forward to on that. I'll be on the night after as well, and all the nights after that. So we've got Impact after that on Thursday. On Friday, we've got Rampage and SmackDown. And then it was either Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember which, but we've got New Japan not Dynamite, but Dominion, where we'll find out who the winner of the Jon Moxley and Battle Royal match will fight the winner of Tanahashi versus Goto. And that'll be at the New Japan event, and I'll be covering that as well. So we've got a lot to look forward to. Maybe if I have time, I'll even fit in the Always Ready Matt Cardona, formerly Zack Ryder, has a big pay-per-view. Even though he just got injured, he's putting on his own pay-per-view event. So I might have time to look into that as well. So a lot to look forward to, and I'll be back on for Dynamite tomorrow night. I'll see you there. And I will be on in a little bit here with more Universe Mode streams. We're almost up to WrestleMania, and you're not going to want to miss the SmackDown main event I've got. So in the last episode of SmackDown of my Universe Mode, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, and Solo Sikoa have turned on Roman Reigns. The Rock has come to Roman Reigns' aid, but then the Roman Reigns turned on The Rock as well. So it looks like it's going to set up a triple threat match at WrestleMania to see who the real head of the table is. Jey Uso versus The Rock versus Roman Reigns. No titles on the line other than head of the table. So that'll be interesting. But the episode coming up of my SmackDown in Universe Mode will feature, in 2 separate matches, Roman Reigns will fight Solo Sikoa, and then in the main event, Jimmy and Jey Uso team with their father Rikishi to fight The Rock in a 1-on-3 tag team handicap match. I'll see you there. Thanks for watching. Bye.